Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Ljs Garage. Growing up, I was always told that I'm a really tough guy. So tough that if I was a truck, I'd be a Raptor. So tough that I was built Ford tough. So behind me is a 2019 Ford F-150 Raptor, or just Raptor for those of you who know it as such. There's really not much that I need to say about this truck, but I'm going to talk about it anyways because it's one of my favorites. It's the toughest, coolest, meanest, leanest, all the other adjectives out there. So stay tuned. We're going to talk about this awesome F-150 Raptor greatness behind me. So I'm going to take you guys on a quick little walk around on the outside, hop on the inside, take it for a spin, and let you guys know my thoughts on the Raptor. Because this truck is so massive, I'm going to kind of break this down in a couple segments here and do this piece by piece because the fastest way to eat... Wait, what's that expression? How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So that's exactly what we're going to do with this massive truck right here. Starting with up front, you'll notice that it's got these cool headlights, and you can see that they've done these crazy body lines so that it looks like the truck's kind of in motion, and it just accentuates the wideness of it. And then you got the fender flares right there. So it kind of pieces together really nice, and I like what Ford has done with that. Overall, not much to say on this 2019 that hasn't been said about all the Fords. Pretty standard Ford headlights. But what is this hole right here? This is missing fog lights. I do have a problem with the fact that Ford didn't include fog lights with this. I get it, there's a lot of lights everywhere. I don't understand why this is missing fog lights. Maybe one of you guys know. Be sure to share that with the rest of us. Moving down to the bottom front area, you'll notice that it's got tow hooks right up here. Right underneath, there's a cool little skid plate. Falling over here, but I'm good. And before we get any further, I just want to give a special thanks to Offenberg Ford of O'Fallon. If you guys are in the local area, be sure to stop in and ask for Jesse. That guy is awesome, and he's taught me a lot about this Raptor. And make sure you say LJ sent you. This is my favorite part right here, the mean, aggressive grille. I say that in a lot of videos that I like aggressive and mean, but this right here, the block letter Ford grille that they do, a lot of people kind of take it and they put it on their regular F-150s because it's such a cool, popular grille. I really like it. And then another thing, because this is such a massive truck, by regulations and whatnot, it has to have all these little amber lights to let you know that it's a wide truck coming up behind you. So Ford did a good job of integrating them into this front grille. And overall, I'm a big fan of this truck. This is everything fully lit up. As you can see, they've got marker lights everywhere. Behind the cool grille, they do have active shutters, which actually help to decrease drag and make this a little bit more fuel efficient. Before I move to the rest of the truck, which there's still a lot left, so bear with me guys. This power plant is a 3.5 liter Ecoboost twin turbo V6, great motor, and on top of that, it's tied to a 10-speed automatic. Oh yeah, it shifts like butter. Ugh. Oh, heavy. This motor makes 450 horsepower, 510 foot-pounds of torque, and does 0 to 60 in about 5.1 seconds. If you drive a Prius and you care about the environment, skip forward like 30 seconds. Gas mileage, 15 city, about 18 highway. You could probably get a little bit more out of that, but that's the safe EPA rating. This tows about 6,000 to 8,000 pounds, somewhere in that ballpark, depending on what configurations you have back there. Four-wheel drive, as you'd imagine. Other than that, that's the power plant. Since Dodge is coming out with the Rebel TRX, or whatever three-letter abbreviations they've got, Ford finally said, hey, you know what? They're gonna put a 700 horsepower in a truck, so how about we bring back the V8s and add a supercharger? So that's a rumor. I'm hoping that they do that because even though I love this EcoBoost engine, a supercharged V8, there's no replacement for displacement. Another thing I noticed is under this hood, you can actually see light coming through. That tells me that that little hood vent that they've got up there is functional. Not only that, but these are functional. They're not just little fake pieces of added on plastic that really do nothing but make the truck look cool, even though they do look cool, I'm not gonna lie. So if they, were fake, I guess I could deal with it. This lovely model behind me is Velocity Blue. The only color you have to pay extra for is the Rapid Red, but I really like this blue, even though I'm not the biggest blue fan and I have a blue car. Blue is not my favorite color, it's actually red, so $400 more for the cool red color and $1,000 more if you want that Raptor decal on the side. You get two different cab options. You got Super Cab and the Super Crew. So as you can see behind me, this is the Super Crew. You remember I talked about a lot of lights on this Raptor? So there's a light right here. It's one of the coolest things on a truck, I personally think, because you can never have enough light if you actually plan to go off-road. So I'm gonna push a button really quick. Keep your eyes on there. That's a really bright light, and it kind of shines light on the trail or whatever if you're going off-road. But you know, if someone's next to you and you want to just kind of be a little a-hole, you could definitely blind them with it too. I don't suggest it. I don't think that's the purposes of it. Don't quote me on that. Ford may have intended that. These guys are heated as well, and there's a couple options that you can get in order to have the ability to do the folding mirrors, which is kind of a necessary thing, even though realistically only another truck is going to knock off your side mirror. Other than that, most cars will drive right under it and they wouldn't even notice it's there. Go ahead now and type how cool I look standing on this Raptor in the comment section below. But let's be real here. This has running boards, and you can get all sorts of different aftermarket things for the Raptor. It's just a truck that the aftermarket is plentiful. So I do like this, and you don't see a lot of Raptor badges. So if you're not a fan, the only other place you're gonna see a real Raptor badge is down there, and I'll show you guys what that looks like on the running board. As for wheels and tires go, you get these nice 17-inch wheels. They look pretty cool. Ford did an awesome job with the design. And then on top of that, you've got these BF Goodrich all-terrain TA tires right here. And let me give you some numbers on these. There's some pretty meaty tires. These are 315 70 17s. Some meaty tires right there. When it comes to sports cars, I can talk about them all day. When it comes to off-roading, I'm no expert. For me, off-roading is like, oh, I need to make a U-turn. I'm gonna go off the gravel just a little bit because it's kind of too small. So that's off-roading for me. In the near future, I plan to get more involved in the off-roading world, and I'd love to buy a little truck to, you know, make my little project. But with this, it comes pretty much out of the box, ready to Baja and do all those cool things. As you know, it is a Baja-inspired truck, hence the skid plate and all those cool other things. It does have Fox racing struts. So that's just one of the highlights of the off-road capabilities of the Raptor, is that it has that Fox racing setup. But if you do care about those things, do some more research and digging into it, you'll realize that this is a fully capable truck. Not only that, Ford tested this truck on jumps. Not a lot of manufacturers do that. You get about 14 inches of clearance and travel on the front and the rear. I forgot to mention starting price. So in 2020, you can get a Raptor starting at about $53,000, and that's just for a base Raptor. If you want to get the Super Crew, you spend another $3,000 to get that. And then as far as gas mileage goes, you know, I mentioned those numbers, but there's actually a tank size difference. So 26-gallon tank in the Super Cab, but the Super Crew is a 36-gallon tank. So something to keep in mind. So you've got LED taillights and then more little lights. If you want, you can actually opt for this really cool tailgate setup where you have a little step that helps you get in here, and you can actually get a power tailgate on some of these if you look hard enough, or get a 2020 and build it the way you like. As you can see, you've got a truck bed. It is lined, which is pretty cool. And then, other than that, there's really nothing to it. This is a good place for campfire stories and tailgating parties. You know, there's a lot of things you can do with this that I don't personally do, but if you do, it's cool. A couple more things to point out before we get inside and talk about more cool features. I want to point out that you do get a normal looking key, so nothing fancy there. And then you'll see it's got the ×2 right there, so you do get remote start. So let me give this a quick little double tap. Oh yeah, there it is. I think it's called Ford 360, and they've got their little app, and you can actually do a lot of features like that from your smartphone, which is kind of nice, very modern, very practical. I like it a lot. However, you do still have to use this key. Come on friends, it's time for us to hop in the back of the Ford Raptor. So let me go ahead and dust my feet off and slide into this rather nice and spacious rear cargo space area. If I have to tell you guys that there's a lot of space in here, you've never been in an F-150 or in one of these big Super Crews. There's so much space in here. 6'3", 6'5", whatever height you are, you'll fit in here comfortably. Headroom, plenty. And you do have the option to get a sunroof on these Raptors, so look out for that if you really like to have a lot of light come into your cabin. But other than that, you can just relax and sleep. I don't know, there's a lot of room back here for activities. You don't get a whole lot. You do get some outlets back here, which are pretty handy to have. USB, and then a regular 110 volt. So if you want to make toast on the way to work, you can do that. Then you do have rear climate vents, no climate control, so you only get dual zone or single zone depending on how you spec your Raptor. Other than that, you've got cup holders right here. And let's go ahead and you do have pop-out cup holders right here. Look at that. Fancy. I know some of you care about rear storage areas and different ways to utilize your vehicles. So what you can do is you just flip this seat up, and now you've got some little floor storage so you can put stuff.
Boxes?
Boxes.
Dogs?
Dogs. I'm scared of heights. There are a couple cool little animations that I like on this. First one's right there, Ford built tough. This one right there, just Raptor, Ford performance. Pretty cool. You do get a couple things up here. You got your automatic stop start. You've got what's called your trail control. And that is basically where you can set cruise control at low speeds when you're on a trail. Pretty handy. Traction control, you guys know all about that. And then otherwise, it's pretty standard Ford. You don't have dual climate control in this one, but you do have heated seats. You do have a rear defroster, as you'd imagine. And then on top of that, you do have your 4-high and your 4-wheel drive controls and all that good stuff there. You've got your locking rear differential right there in case you're in a bad situation. You've got 2 cup holders, your shifter. And then moving over, you do get more outlet. Then this is what the view looks like from the driver's standpoint. You've got a pretty sturdy steering wheel, and it's got this little red line on there to let you know where center position is, or 0 position. You do have paddle shifters. Not a lot of trucks with those. These are like magnesium, I believe, some sort of tough metal. And then on top of that, you got your volume controls here. This is how you change your drive modes. This right here is how you change your steering feel. So if you go to that, you've got your sport steering feel, you've got your comfort steering, and then normal steering. Then you've got your hands-free controls here for your calling. You got this to toggle through your menu, and then you've got your cruise control settings right there. On this side, you've got your lighting controls there, and then these are for your LED lights on your side mirrors, and then you've got your normal controls for the side mirrors right there. Nothing fancy, nothing crazy. As for your dash, at the top right, you'll notice you've got your turbo gauge right there, so your boost gauge for those of you who know it as such. You've got your RPMs, your normal speedometer, and then we'll show you guys some couple things in this menu right here. The first thing you'll notice is if you go into your main menu, you've got a couple different things. You've got your display mode, so it'll tell you, how many miles you have till E, tire pressure, speedometer if you want a digital one. A couple different cool things. They're okay things. You can go to gauge mode, and let's say you go to your oil temp. You can go to this and you can get your specified oil temp right there. Or if you wanted to go to like your air fuel ratio, click on that. Just a standard gauge for that. Pretty handy to have. Then you got your towing mode, and you can actually see your trailer status and all of these different things, and you can actually have this memorize a trailer and all those fancy things. Off-road mode is where some of the magic starts to happen. You've got different gauges that show you your angles of steering and your incline levels and different things like that. You got your power distribution, so if you're in 2-wheel drive only, it'll show you a little gauge that shows you that you're sending power to the rear wheels. You got your different Raptor status items right there. They tell you everything is good. You can adjust your driving modes and all that from the steering wheel. Pretty handy, easy to use. You'll notice up here you've got all these auxiliary toggle switches. So Ford went ahead and they made it super easy, so when you do want to add more lights, because you need more of those, you can actually do them and it looks factory, nice and pretty. You do have Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. There's really not a whole lot to talk about with this Sync 3. It's way better than Sync 1 and Sync 2. Pretty straightforward, no complaints, nothing to really brag about. Overall, very solid. On these, you can actually opt for a kicker subwoofer, and you can go for an upgraded Bang & Olufsen sound system. I highly recommend it, but some people don't care about those things. Screen response is pretty quick, so you click on something and it moves.
Search for your vehicle on your device and select it once it is found.
Don't talk to me in that tone. This is just the basic backup camera option that you get. It looks pretty good. You can have the little guidelines and everything there. Then you hit this plus sign and it'll actually show you your trailer hitch view. Helps you get your trailer attached. Nothing crazy, nothing fancy. Overall, pretty solid backup camera. 7 out of 10 gets the job done, especially with a big truck. It's nice to have parking aids and backup camera. As far as storage goes, you do have a lot of different options in here. You've got this big compartment right here, which let me go ahead and close that so you guys can see. Good little size there. And then I do have a Galaxy S10 for scale. You can put that in there. You got a little phone holder. And then this is where the magic really happens. You pop this open and look at this console. Here's my hand for scale. Oh, let me put my arm in here for a scale for you guys so you can see the scale of this. It's pretty massive, you know. I can fit my whole hand in there. I can fit all the way up to like my elbow in here. It's pretty huge. Ford also includes this little coin holder thing right here, so you can actually, or it's a tray for more than coins, but as you can see on one side you got coins. You just throw that in there. Pretty nice and organized if you're one of them coin collecting type people. You do also have this little area, and it says pens, and it doesn't say anything inappropriate if that's what you're thinking, but this is where you put your pens. First off, this thing is super comfortable. I don't know what Ford has gone and done with the suspension. I know a little bit about it, but I don't know the whole science behind it. But it rides so well, and it goes from, I guess, mild to wild. Really, really cool, smooth, and you don't even realize that you're driving this big tank around until you look to your side view mirrors and you realize that there's a lot of truck behind you, and a lot of truck in front of you, actually. So, that's the first thing that I want to say about the Raptor. It does have all the different drive modes, and putting it in sport, it's a little bit more aggressive. It holds the RPMs a little bit longer. I don't really know if I'd say I'd ever want to drive in it. I'd probably drive in normal mode and I'd be just fine. Putting the steering into, you know, sport feel, it's a little bit more tight. Putting it in comfort, it's way too bouncy. This truck's almost scary bouncy. There's a lot of body roll, but you kind of expect it. It's really predictable body roll. As for the paddle shifters, they make driving a little bit more fun. Would I ever really use them? Probably not. This 10-speed shifts pretty good. It downshifts when it needs to. It's fuel efficient when it needs to be. Honestly, there's really not much to say about the transmission. When I get on it, I love hearing the turbo spool, and it feels like you're just driving a big old, oh man, a big old diesel sometimes. You just hear those turbos, but then you remember this is a gas vehicle, and it's not a diesel, but you get those turbo sounds, which I don't know about you guys. I am a big fan of turbo sounds. Obviously, you're bigger than most things on the road, so you do have to watch out. I was thinking, they call this the Raptor, and you're driving it around something so large that hopefully you don't make anyone extinct. This doesn't have all the bells and whistles that you can get, 360 camera, you know, the trailer backup or the smart trailer features. There's a couple things that it's missing. But it does have a lot of the things that you would want if you were to build your own Raptor. One of the things that I want to talk about too is I'm one of the millennials that has always been into turbo cars, and so it's not a big deal for me to be missing a V8. Granted, it's a little weird to be in a truck that's not a V8. Not having the V8, I don't feel like I'm missing out on a lot because I wasn't born into the world of trucks and having a V8. Especially when you tell me the numbers that, you know, 5.10 to 60, you know, 510 foot-pounds of torque, all those really good numbers that, honestly, there's no reason that I would want a V8 if you're telling me that I'm getting comparable numbers. Now, for those of you guys that are super truck boys and truck guys, it's kind of gonna be hard to not hear that rumble of the V8, and the exhaust on this isn't bad. I'll let you guys get a clip of that in a little bit, but it's not great either. Overall, my driving impressions on this, super fun. Would I spend the money myself to get a Raptor? Yeah, I definitely would. If you're familiar with driving trucks, this is not that big. It's not that big of a difference. You kind of just hop in. It feels like any other truck. It handles like a truck. If you're a sports car guy and you get in this, you're gonna notice the size. And that's kind of the big deal breaker for me personally, is the size. I don't enjoy driving this around all the time. Would I love to have one and I just drive it whenever I feel like saying I drive a Raptor? Yeah, I would. Would I like to park this in the city? Heck no. Would I like to park it at work? Heck no. I'm just not a big fan of trucks and having this size year round all the time. But they are practical, they make sense. Other than the fuel economy, that's not very practical. But thank you guys so much for checking out yet another video in LJ's Garage. Be sure to hit that like button, that comment button, and this Raptor is actually for sale, so if you're in the O'Fallon, St. Louis area, be sure to stop by Offenburg Ford O'Fallon, ask for Jesse. See you guys next time.